session of the Serverless Masterclass. I am Srividya. I'm a developer advocate at Catalyst, and I'll be taking up this session today. So it's great to see that you've all joined us today. So if you have any questions at any point of time, feel free to stop us. This session is intended to help you get more familiar with the Catalyst components and to help you out with our upcoming hackathon as well. So let's get started. How the Zia Suite has been built in Catalyst and how it can be leveraged. So we'll take a look at what a serverless masterclass is, the format of the session, what it can help you learn, and then we'll go on to take a look at what is AI on demand. AI and ML have become buzzwords today. All of us know of AI and ML and how they can be used, but we would like to take a look at AI on demand specifically and understand the on-demand aspect of it, the serverless and on-demand aspect. Then we'll delve into our Zoho Zia Suite, followed by a couple of real-world use cases. So this is where it'll get interesting. We've got a couple of slides for you that we would like to work along with you on. So you can do the solution diagram, we can do it parallelly, and we can check out how we're architecting solutions together. Then we have a couple of interesting announcements for you. So now let's get started with the session. So the learning objectives, as I mentioned, we're going to learn about the concept of AI as a service. So we have heard of AI, but we're going to introduce AI as a service. We're going to understand the benefits of building with AI as a service. So there are multiple benefits that come up with an on-demand service. We'll discuss them, and we'll discuss how you can architect real-world use cases using AI as a service. So this is something that we shall do together, and we can get started. So I see a couple of questions. I'm just going to try answering them. Are you going to receive a recording of this session? Yes, you will. We will be editing the session and sharing a recording, but that will take a while. So I'd suggest following along with us right now, and we'll make sure we share a recording with you as soon as possible. Let's go to the next slide, please. So these are the learning objectives for today's session. And now we look at what is AI on demand. On demand basically refers to the process of receiving a service only when you need it. Now let's take a practical example. Let's look at something like using an object recognition API or image moderation API. I'm not going to use this API every day or every second. Then why would I have to pay for the API when I don't use it? The concept of AI on demand is that you don't have to provision or monitor your backend services. You can access these pre-trained APIs using simple REST API endpoints. So the use of APIs, and we have SDKs as well for this, without provisioning or monitoring any backend servers is called AI on demand. So as you can see to the left, we have what AI on demand means, or AI as a service. I'll be using both terms interchangeably, but the idea is that as long as you have a pre-trained service that can help you leverage the power of AI using simple REST API endpoints or SDKs, then you have an AI as a service. Why should we look at AI as a service? Why should we use pre-trained APIs? We'll explore this in detail to understand the benefits of using AI on demand. But to start with, I hope you're clear on the fact that AI on demand is using AI APIs or SDKs, basically endpoints, without having to build them. This is like serverless, for example. So where you can just use functions and pre-trained components without monitoring and provisioning. Similarly, for a real world example, let's take the concept of Uber. So this is similar to Uber, where every time you need to use a ride, you just book a ride and you go where you need to go, instead of owning a car and going to every single place. So these are examples of services that are similar to AI as a service, meaning on-demand services that can be acquired when you have a need for it. This is the concept of AI on demand, basically using pre-trained, high-quality APIs and leveraging AI solutions quickly to take your application to market faster. So let's go to the next slide, please. Next, we have a couple of examples of on-demand services. So when I talk about on-demand services that needn't be provisioned, that can be used, we have examples of compute services, testing services. So Even within Catalyst, we have examples of on-demand compute services like functions. So it works on a pay-per-use model. There is no provisioning involved. When you need a function, you can invoke a function. Similarly, testing services like API automation testing that can be used only on demand. When I say on demand, it means that it follows a pay-per-use basis. So whenever you need it, you'll be able to use it, but there's no provisioning or monitoring involved. Similarly, we've got storage services like the file store, data store, and much more. We've got testing services, we've got AI services, and much more. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we at Zoho have been working on such AI services for 11 plus years. We have the depth and breadth of expertise when it comes to AI services, and we're exposing these AI services for custom application development right now. So could we go to the next slide, please? We have been working on this in-house. So everything that's available here is inbuilt. So all the AI services are based on Zoho's R&D, and this is something that we use comfortably within our applications. Could we go to the next slide, please? We've got a couple of examples of cases where we have used the same AI APIs at Zoho. For example, here's a screenshot from Zoho Desk. Here we see a comment that says thank you. So this comment has been flagged as positive. We perform sentiment analysis operation here to determine the sentiment behind the text. So here we see that the text says thank you, and we've tried to determine whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. So we've determined that it's a positive response, and hence we've stored it here. This is an API that was created for Zoho, and this has been democratized for using Catalyst. So let's go to the next slide, please. I think I have a screenshot of the Catalyst console there, where we use the same API. This is to show you the idea behind exposing them as custom APIs. These are scalable, tested APIs that we use in other Zoho products, and we are sharing them for custom application development using Catalyst. In the next slide, similarly, we've got APIs from Zoho people that help with face comparison during attendance modules. The same API is available on Catalyst for custom application development as facial recognition API. Could we go to the next slide, please? I believe we have a screenshot of our face analytics API. So this is the API that does the same operation that's done in Zoho people. So these are APIs that are used by 80 million plus users who use Zoho, and these have been exposed for custom application development using Catalyst. So these are a couple of examples to say why and where we are coming from and where these APIs are coming from. So this is based on 11 plus years of research. This helps you introduce intelligence into your application using simple REST API endpoints. And these are easy to configure. These reduce your time to launch. And hence, these are pay-per-use as well. So it works out for you very well. Could we go to the next slide, please? My apologies, we are facing a technical glitch on my end, hence the slight delay between slides. But the Catalyst Zia Suite simplifies the entire process of creation of ML models. So let's say you have to create a new ML model. There are a couple of steps involved. The first step is you need to collect data. So the accuracy of your model or the prediction capability of your model depends on the quality of the data set. The next set is preparing the data. So you would have to remove redundant data, you would have to remove empty columns, and you would have to simplify that data so that it's usable. Then we'll have the next step where this data, prepared data, needs to be trained into a model. So you have to choose a model. There are multiple models like linear regression, binary class classification, multi-class classification. So I'll go into a little bit of detail to explain these three models alone in the upcoming slides. But the idea is to say you have to select a model, try how that model works, and this is a time-consuming process for you to figure out. Then we will have the process of evaluation, training, and then evaluation. So you train the model based on this data, and you hope that the model works well. But if it doesn't, then you have a evaluation phase where you evaluate how the model works for you, and you have a feedback loop. So you keep iterating like this to figure out when the model is efficient, and that's when you stop. However, sometimes there might be new training data that keeps coming in. So this can be a never-ending process of optimization for you. So we were wondering, is there a way in which we could use our expertise and R&D to help you fix this? Hence, the Catalyst Zia Suite was born. So in the Catalyst Zia Suite, all you would have to do is use our pre-trained APIs. So we have done the collection of data, preparing the data. You would have to choose the model depending on the kind of data you have, and we'll be able to train your model and predict for you. So all you would have to do is upload your data in the form of files and then make predictions based on your data. So the prediction will be available using REST APIs, and that's the only process that is involved. This greatly simplifies the effort that is involved in the process. So if we could take a look at the next slide, we'll be able to see that we do the same process in the Catalyst Zia Suite. We can just skip through the animation. The idea is just to say that we perform the same operation in the Zia Suite for you, but we do this for you. So all you would have to do is upload the input file and choose the model. We will do the prediction for you. So the Catalyst Zia Suite comes with multiple options. As you can see on the screen here, we have a couple of features listed, which includes AutoML, OCR. I'll be going into every feature in detail, but right now I'm just going to take a 2-second pause to see if you have any questions. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to shoot them in the chat box. We'll be taking a look at the chat box for 2 seconds or 5 seconds to see if there are any questions. If not, we'll proceed. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a hackathon coming up this month, and we'll be discussing a couple of use cases for the hackathon. So if you're interested in participating, we'll make sure we share the link to the hackathon along with the use cases with you. So all you would have to do is work on the solution diagram, build your use case, and submit it back to us. We have prizes worth rupees $5,000. Great. I think there are no questions, so I'm going to go ahead with this session. But at any point of time, if you have any questions or if you want to share anything, as I mentioned at the start, feel free to unmute yourself or let us know in the chat box. So we've got multiple features at Catalyst. Firstly, the AutoML feature. AutoML is used to predict based on historical data. So if you have a linear regression model, say you had to predict sales for the upcoming year based on sales for the past 20 years, then that's something AutoML can do for you. All you would have to do is upload a CSV file, and we will train the model in the backend and create the model for you. So you'll be able to consume predictions using REST APIs. You can export a database, Rahul, and upload it to Catalyst. Right now we take CSVs, but in case you want to connect to your database, you can use a function to connect to your database, pull that data, and push it as a CSV file into the data store. From there, we can take files. In case you want to use the data store only, feel free to leave us a suggestion at the Catalyst community. So our product team regularly takes a look at these suggestions and they incorporate it in our roadmap. So in case you feel like this is something you'll require in your upcoming project, feel free to leave us a line at the Catalyst community. That's a great question, by the way. So as I mentioned, you'll be able to pull the data using the Catalyst function, push it into the file store, and then perform AutoML. So we can perform linear regression. We can also perform binary class classification, which is to say, if we have a picture of a dog, is it a dog, is it not a dog? Or is it a cat, is it not a cat? So it's binary class classification, where we will be able to say whether an object belongs to a class or if it doesn't. We also have multi-class classification to say if it belongs to one of the classes in a certain class set. So these are 3 types of operations that are possible using AutoML. We have a couple of samples that are coming up in the upcoming slides. Similarly, for OCR, we've got an extensive list of possibilities using the OCR suite. We've got object detection. So using the object detection feature, it's possible to detect pre-trained objects. So we've got common objects that have been trained across 80 classes. So it's possible to use this to predict it's basically bounding boxes. So we figure out which objects are present, and then we tag them based on the classes. So this is possible using the object detection APIs. We've got face analytics that will help you figure out the age of a person, the gender of a person, along with the confidence level. We've got image moderation APIs in place. So image moderation APIs will help you figure out if an image is fit for a forum or not based on whether it has content that you wouldn't like to post on forums. And then we have barcode scanning as well. So I see there's another question. I'm going to take a minute to read that out. Can we predict if approaching a person by email, we would receive a positive reply? So this can be done if you have enough responses to train. So you can say positive, not positive are two classes, and this can be trained based on a set of responses. So let's say you have 100 or 200 responses. These responses can be fed as input, and next to every response you have positive or not positive. So this becomes a binary class classification problem where we have to classify if a response is positive or negative. It would be possible using AutoML. The idea is to have enough number of rows to be able to predict accurately. So we say somewhere around 10,000 rows is a good number, but we would definitely encourage you to give it a try irrespective of the amount of data you have. So anything above 1,000 rows should be good, but 10,000 is our recommendation. So I hope that answers your question, Rahul. If not, feel free to let us know in chat. I believe that covers the features that are available in the Zia Suite. We've also got text analytics for sentiment analytics, keyword extraction, and other operations. So we'll be covering each of these features in the use cases. And we have a small request from our side. So we would like for you to take a look at the Catalyst console. So before we proceed to the problem statements, we would like to try something out. So in case someone wants to check out I see a question that says, why can't I see any questions or the chat on my screen? So the Q&A widget is available on your screen. It should be the third or fourth widget from the left. Upon clicking on it, you should be able to see the list of questions that have been asked so far. But if you're unable to see that, feel free to let us know. If you're unable to see that upon clicking the Q&A widget, feel free to let us know. We'll check with the meetings team and we'll get back to you. Great. So it is basically cold email marketing and predicting the response percentage. This is something that we all grapple with to understand the kind of emails that get better responses or the possibility that someone could respond to you. So we have something similar within Zoho CRM where we use similar APIs to say what is the possibility or the probability that a deal might get closed. So we use the same API there as well. And we use a similar approach to predict if a deal might get closed or not. Great. So we've answered Rahul's question. We've answered Zenyo's question. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. But now I think we're at a good place to get started. I'd love to see if someone can share their screen and take us to the Catalyst console where you can try out a demo of each of the features. So this is something that anyone can try. So I do not want to pick anyone in specific, but we have shout outs planned for people who are open to do this. So all you'd have to do is share your screen, go to the Catalyst console, and we'll look through each feature together. So we can take a look at the problem statements and then do this, but this is something that I'll be asking. So in case anyone is ready to do that, all you have to do is type that out in chat saying, I'm ready. And you can share your screen, you'll get your shout out, and we'll be more than happy to assist you when you do that. So let's go through the problem statements. We've also got a solution document in place. So we would like for you to try out each of these solutions and let us know how you would solve for them. So let's take a look at the first problem statement. We want to perform sentiment analysis for tickets received in a ticketing portal or community. So this can be something like a Slack channel or something like Connect, where you get a list of requests. The core goal is to understand the sentiment behind the text that you receive and process them accordingly. So let's just go to the next slide, or I think we have a description of this. So the process involved is very simple. We need to process the comments. So we verify the sentiment. So we try to identify if it's positive, negative, or neutral. So if it's positive sentiment, then we're going to add that to the website because it's a good comment. We want everyone to know that we're doing a good job. So we add it to the website. If it's a negative comment that we get on Slack, we're going to add it to our ticketing portal to say, hey, we got this negative comment. Let's try and resolve the ticket. In case it's a neutral comment, then we're going to forward the comment to the team's email alias. So we've got 3 operations depending on the sentiment of the comment. Now let's go ahead to the next screen to take a look at how we would do this using Catalyst. We have an entire bootcamp dedicated to this use case. So I've added a screenshot of that. Here what we do is we use a Slack API, Slack webhook. So anytime someone adds a negative comment on Slack, we send a message to Zendesk and add it as a negative comment there. In case it's a positive comment or a neutral comment, we just ignore it. So this is something that we've implemented from scratch. It's available in the Catalyst community, so you can access that, take a look at it and see how we've architected it. It's very simple. We use a Catalyst function, and the function receives the response, calls our Catalyst text sentiment analysis APIs to identify if the comment is positive, negative, or neutral. If you remember, this is the same API that's used in Zoho Desk as well. So we use that API to determine the sentiment, and depending on the sentiment, we either push it to Zendesk as a ticket or we don't. This is just one of the examples of what's possible using the text analytics API. Next, we have another example. So could we go to the next slide, please? So let's take a look at a meme synthesis bot. This bot needs to resize images, tag the images based on the objects present in the image, and moderate them. So the process involved is simple. We take an image as input, we check the objects in the image and tag the image accordingly in our database. We check for people in the image and group them by their age, by their gender, and other attributes that we have. We moderate the images to say, are these fit for a forum? And then we resize them. So how would we do this using Catalyst? We have a sample for you to try out. So let's pause on this slide for a minute. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. I'm going to share the link to a PowerPoint presentation where you will be able to draw or show us how you would architect this. So I'll just share that with you in a minute. Feel free to go ahead, and all we need is your name and you can start drawing the flow. So just to say how you would architect this using Catalyst. And in case you haven't used Catalyst previously, no need to worry. We'll be going through the solution as well. We just want to see, in case you've used Catalyst, how you would do this. So I'm going to share that with you in a minute. If you have any questions, we have an eye on the chat box. So please keep them coming. So as I mentioned, we have our hackathon coming up as well. Each of these use cases are gold mines for you. You can use the same use case for a hackathon entry. We're giving you the solution architecture as well. So all you would have to do is write the code, which might also be available for a few samples. So you can edit it, tweak it in your own way, and share it with us as a hackathon entry. You stand a chance to win rewards up to $5,000. So that's something interesting that's going on. It's going on till the end of this month, I guess. So that's something for you to try out. And I am going to share this with you right now. So keep an eye on the chat box so you can try this out. In the meantime, let's go ahead and open up the solution. Could we go to the next slide, please? Great. So this is how I would do it, but this might be different from how you would look at it. Let me share the solution diagram presentation with you. So we would like for you to take a look at it and let us know how you would do this as well. Great. So is Catalyst a part of Zoho One? I could not find it. I am not a developer. I'm just a new subscriber. That's a great question. We've been asked this regularly. So Catalyst is a developer platform, unlike other business applications that are present in Zoho One. So Catalyst is not a part of Zoho One right now. But the best part is we have a completely free development sandbox, and we provide up to 125 million free invocations for the first year in the production environment. So chances are you get your first entire year for free and then a year of production for free. So the pricing is not a major concern, I guess. I hope this answers your question, Rahul. I've also shared the link to a slide deck with you. So that has these solution diagrams. In case anyone wants to take it up, try to solve it on their own. We've included the images of each of the features. So you will be able to show us how you would do this your way. So I've shared this with you in chat, in the Q&A section. Feel free to take this up, try this out. We'll be taking a look at the presentation at the end of the session, and we'll have shout outs for everyone who's given it a try. In case you feel like you could do even a side test part differently, feel free to include it in the deck along with your name and your LinkedIn or Twitter bio so that we can give you a shout out. So we'll need the link to your respective handle and how you'll handle it. So these are the two things. We just need the solution diagram and your details, and we'll be giving you a shout out. Now we'll go ahead and look at each use case to see how we will solve this. We'll also look at how you might solve this. So the case we had discussed was a meme synthesis bot. So we take an image, we perform object detection, and once we perform object detection, we tag that in the data store to understand which object has been tagged that way. Then we perform face recognition using the Zia Suite to say how many groups of people are there in a certain age or how many people in a certain gender. We use our face analytics API. Then we use our image moderation API to see if it's fit for a forum. Then we resize the image and we're done. So this is the process that we would follow to build the meme synthesis bot. Again, you would have these icons available for you in the presentation that I have shared. So in case you would do it differently, feel free to try it out in that slide. Just let us know your name and your email address. We'll contact you. We'll give you a shout out, or we'll explain to you how this is possible, how it might not be possible. And we can take it from there. So let's go to the next slide, please. I think the next use case is my personal favorite. So barcode scanning to understand the source for food products. So allergen friendly foods is something that we consider nowadays. Even if you are allergic to tree nuts or something like that, if food is processed in the same facility as that, then chances are you might feel sick, you might fall sick. So this is one of the use cases that I thought is quite relevant. So just to say, you scan a barcode, you get a list of ingredients that have been used in the food product along with a list of sources. So let's say we take a candy bar, it has sugar. Where has the sugar cane been sourced from? Where has the sugar been sourced from? Things like this that help you track a product back to its source so that you're able to identify in case you have any allergy to one of the sources or the place where one of the ingredients has been grown or cultivated. So we take a barcode as an image input. We use our Catalyst Zia barcode scanning API to figure out if... So our Catalyst Zia API will give us the response that contains a link. We use this, check our data store, and we figure out the list of ingredients that are involved and where they've been bought from. Then we display this using the web client hosting option to our end customers. So this is how we would do this, but we would love to learn how you might try this out. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we have two more use cases. These are use cases that we do not have solution diagrams for, but we've included this in the slide deck. So we would like to see your solution diagram for how you would try this out. Let's take this example of predicting a sales forecast. I believe we've discussed this in detail today. So in case you had to do linear regression, to understand the sales forecast for the upcoming month. How would you do this? So you take the input as a CSV file. This contains historic data. You would use the AutoML feature within Catalyst to train the model. Once you've trained the model, you'll be having a REST API endpoint. So you call this REST API endpoint to figure out or predict sales for the next year, the year after, and so on. So this is how you would use the Catalyst AutoML feature to predict sales. This is linear regression. Similarly, we can do multi-class classification, binary class classification, and so on. So we will add a detailed post about how each of these problem statements can be solved every day in the community. In the meantime, we would love to see how you would do this in the work drive file that I've shared. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is our last use case for the day. So if you wanted to perform text sentiment analysis or image moderation on messages that are being sent. So let's take an example of a WhatsApp message or a Click message or a Slack message. Sometimes you could just type something out that you do not mean to send. So in case you find negative comments or you find images that are not fit to be sent, then it's possible to build an extension that throws up an error saying, are you sure you want to do this? Or a warning sign. So if the user still consents, then we can go ahead and send that message. If not, we can stop right there. So this is something that's possible using our Catalyst text sentiment analysis API along with the image moderation API that's available. So if the content is not suitable, then we show them an alert. The user still wishes to send it, they can send it. But sometimes people reconsider when we show them such alerts to rephrase what they've written. These are 5 examples of use cases and how we would implement them. We would love to understand how you would use Catalyst features to implement each of these use cases. So as shared, the work drive link will be accessible to you until tomorrow. We'll be closing out the entries by tonight though. It will be accessible to you to take a look until tomorrow. Until the end of this session, you'll be able to access the work drive link and add your solution diagram. So we'll give you a shout out. We'll let you know in the community. So the ones who get it right, you'll get our shout outs. In case you get it wrong, we'll reach out to you personally, let you know how you could do it better, and we'll work with you on that. So now let's go to the next slide, please. So we have a couple of interesting announcements lined up for you. Let's go to the next slide. The first one would probably be, according to me, would be the hack. We have our community, of course. Everything that happens in the community. So whether it's these session announcements, whether it's the hackathon, everything is available in the community, and all recordings are available in the community as well. So I would urge you to take a look at the Catalyst community, the link is available in this message. We'll be sharing it with you in chat as well. Let's go to the next slide, please. We have a Catalyst hackathon coming up this month. So the hackathon entries are open till the end of the month. The hackathon has rewards worth up to $5,000. So we would encourage you all to participate. We have the next 101 series coming up on September 19th. So you'll be able to register for this in the Catalyst community as well.